right, I'm so glad you guys are here. Thanks for joining me, and I think some more people will be on. I definitely did share this with my community to let them know, but also just on Facebook, I've been sharing it. So, all right, let me make sure everything's going on right here, because this, I did not get set up. So this should probably just improve the sound, right? How's the sound, you guys? Hi, Sue. Hi, Dominique. How's the sound? Does it sound good? Can you guys hear me? Will you just type in a yes for yes, you can hear me, assuming that you can, and this microphone's working? Yeah? Hi, Carolyn. I'm glad you loved last week. Can you guys just type in a yes? Can you hear me? Can. So we'll get started. You hear me? Oops, typo. Sounds fine. Okay, thank you, David. Good, good. All right, awesome. So today we're going to be talking more about following your intuition and using your divine guidance for support in navigating through Ascension and the Ascension timelines. I'm going to set up a little bit of background on this for people so we can kind of get an understanding of where we're at with regard to the collective ascension, like the primary timeline that the collective is sharing. The primary timeline is what we would call global, that no matter where you are in the world, you could agree something like this is going on. For example, there's a shared experience known as COVID, even though there's an individual experience of how we will individually experience that. So the collective timeline, where we're at right now, is what I'm going to address just briefly. So we are in what I call the third wave of ascension, which was birthed at the beginning of 2020. And that third wave, we know, brought up the shadow for the collective, which we collectively have been experiencing as things like COVID, things like a vaccine agenda, whether or not there's an agenda there, things like giving our power away to external authorities, the exploration of that, things like disclosure, things like rising us to a new spiritual consciousness. All of that's going on the collective timeline and brought that up. That came up to the surface in 2020. And all energies and vibrations associated with fear were brought to the surface for people to become more conscious of, right? And that came to the collective awareness. And there's lots of other themes there. We don't need to go into that. But those themes for the collective came up during 2020. And now in the year 2021, which we're still in the first quarter, now we get the opportunity to begin to suss it out. So over the next 3 years, there will be an intensity of sussing all that out. And that's where the collective is getting an opportunity to evaluate what they have believed and perceived to be true, and to reevaluate all of their belief systems. And I'm saying them, but I mean all of us. And we're all in different stages of this process on our journey. But that is the third wave. That's what's happening. So we are, as a collective, reevaluating what we have believed to be true. That is it going to be, and also how we have utilized all of our various forms of power, vibration, energy, money, thoughts, perspective, all of what we have received or perceived, and all of what we have done with our lives, what we have done in terms of our energy. That's where we give our power. So the old paradigm, we gave our power to external authorities and to the external world. In the old paradigm, we believed and perceived that celebrities, if you weren't famous, if you weren't, now celebrities, I don't know, depending on where your consciousness is, like, so the whole celebrity status is just tanking, right? Because we're starting to realize the ridiculousness. Okay, so I laugh at it because it's all funny. I mean, to me, it's all funny because that's my frequency of where I perceive things from a perspective of joy. But I'm not being condescending. Please know that. It's just that when you start vibrating with joy, just everything's fun and funny, right? Okay. But people's pain and challenges are not funny, right? And we're our animals. It's just, all right. So these are themes now we're going to be unpacking over the next 3 years, where we've given our power, what we believe to and perceive to be true, and what is true, what's not true, and then, of course, the discernment factor in there. This is how we're going to be navigating where and how we've used our life force, how we've contributed and participated, or not contributed and participated to what's going on in our reality, how we've played passive. A lot of people play passive. So when we look at those themes, because those are going to be the themes over the next 3 years, easily, because humanity is reclaiming our power and redefining what is true and what's not true. That's going to be major themes for the next 3 years. And realizing that everywhere we've given our power in the external authority does not have the right or authority to have power over us. We will come into that realization through our discernment, and we will also come to realize that those people and players who we gave our power to, including entertainment and the entertainment industry, will start to realize that none of that is worthy of our power. When I say power, in this case, I'm talking about our energy, our money, our time, our investment of our lives, our mind. Remember last week we talked about the gatekeeping of our mind, our mental and emotional states of being. So we're going to be reclaiming that, right? Which is, of course, what's been going on, but it's been going on in the Lightworker community, the Starseed community, the Wayshower community, but now the collective is going to be looking at it. And the job of the third wave of the collective is to change the physical world by changing this, right? The Lightworkers in the first and second wave had other jobs, right? And if you're listening to me, chances are you're a first or second waver. Third wavers, this dialogue would be mostly foreign. I always know when I have a third waver who's been listening to me, because they usually will say things like, speak slower, I can't understand you, or they don't stick it out, or they typically will, it's either an inner critic will come up, a critic, a disbeliever, a skeptic. That's what they bring to the table. Criticism, a lot of criticism. I don't get a lot of that because those people just don't come to my community, right? So, but in any case, that's what's on the world stage. And I mean, disclosure will be happening for the next few years. It's going to take a long time for people to process, digest, and resolve the crimes against humanity that have been taking place, which can no longer be hidden in the shadows. I'll make a couple of predictions really fast, just because I have a moment to do it. It's a bit of a side note, but I think we will see Bill Gates get arrested for crimes against humanity and possibly even commit suicide. Not that I would ever wish any harm on him or anyone else. It's a prediction. And predictions are as good as the energy of the perspective, right? I'm not wishing any harm on him necessarily, but he does have to be removed from power. If people don't understand that Bill Gates, his entire foundation is based on profit off of the harm and suffering of others, he physically profits financially through his foundations for vaccines. That is how he makes a living. So we have a leader in the mass media who is perpetuating crimes against humanity. Another one of those is Dr. Anthony Fauci, who does make a living off of vaccines. People just don't realize this yet. So this person will also be very likely arrested in the next 1 to 3 years. Some people think that they are clones. I do not agree with that. That is not what my guidance is telling me. That the person we're seeing in the physical world is cloned. It's like people go so off the charts in their stuff. It gets unrealistic. Anyway, but okay, that's up for you to decide. And I'm not wishing harm on anyone, but I am wishing that these people who are perpetuating crimes, and they're only two. perpetuating crimes against humanity are completely removed from power. That is my desire and intention for humanity, because those who are profiting off of the harm and injury of others need to be removed from positions of power. They're just causing pain and suffering on the planet, and they're doing it with conscious awareness that they are doing it for their own personal gain. These are only 2 names, so regardless, let's move on. I don't want to get distracted on that because that's not what we're here for. So these are the themes in the next 3 years, and what we as individuals are going to need to do is to be able to use our inner intuition and our guidance to navigate this ever-changing climate, because it is going to continue to intensify, and there's going to be, you know, you can obviously see the kind of bandwidth between those in the know and those in the not know. And even when you talk about those in the know and that's those in the not know, there's all these realms of knowing. What do we know? What do we believe? What do we perceive? This one says that, this one says that. We all have our own divine knowing to one's person's truth, even on this whole vaccine thing or any other topic on the global world. One person's truth is not another person's truth. And there is, if you've heard me, there is no real truth other than the truth that we perceive and all of our entangled beliefs and belief systems, which we can now change. And through the changing of those beliefs and belief systems, etc., we can have experiences that are much more to our personal liking and for our overall expansion of our experience, right? Our more desirable types of experiences. Now, if you didn't see the whole layout of how I talked about this in the last video, it's on my Facebook page. Unfortunately, I've now maxed out at 5,000, so I can't add more people, but the Facebook page is open, so people can still view that last video, and it will be on the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, which you will see that if you go to YouTube and just search my name, Lori Spagna. So, and for those of you who don't know me, since I'm on Facebook and people don't always know me, you know, I've been doing this work for more than 20 years now. I've been working with humans and animals to facilitate consciousness, to facilitate the expansion of their consciousness and the awakening of their remembrance, your remembrance of yourself as the divine embodied, and to facilitate work as a light worker to shift global consciousness for animals, for people, for the collective, for even Mother Earth, Gaia, the plants, the minerals, all of it, because there's consciousness in everything. And I do this through channeling. Anyone who's been in my inner circles, you know, channeling can just, there's so much channeling that comes through direct channeling where I'm in complete altered state, just merged with these higher realm beings, whether they're ascended masters or animals or divine goddesses or source creator consciousness or the collective consciousness of a group, or I mean, on and on it goes. I can access multi-dimensional layers of consciousness and individuated beings because I know how to merge with them at those higher dimensional frequency bandwidths, or those frequency bandwidths that are more pure and unencumbered from human egoic structures. So I do through channeling and then energy healing, which I love doing energy healing because to me that is the solution to everything, really, in a sense, because as we do go through the energy healing process, that shifts and up levels our vibration, and we can make those changes through the entire embodiment of our physical, but we can make those changes and shifts mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually. We can go through our auric field, which is the light, you know, the light that we are. We can go all the way out, layers and layers and layers of the essence of who we are. And when we start clearing that of all that psychic and energetic debris on all these layers, that's how we become very purified and unified. And that's also ultimately how we can connect with these higher, clearer, pure dimensional aspects. A lot of people really want to learn how to connect with the other dimensions beyond our physical dimension. And I teach that all the time. But the thing to understand is it's all about the purification process, which is a healing process. Healing, clearing, and resolving that stuff in our field. So again, I did talk about that more in the last video. But I've been doing this work for 20 years and I love what I do. I love helping humans and animals. I love being a channel, a pure divine channel and conduit for Source Creator. I love using my psychic and intuitive abilities and teaching and empowering others to do it as well. I love working with animals in the animal kingdom. They're so awesome and they're just really here to facilitate our consciousness, right? They're just anchoring in all of the purest virtues and qualities that we are learning. It's amazing. They have all of the best qualities that we humans are learning. And they're literally anchoring those virtues and qualities into the physical world by being embodied in physical form and not having to worry about or care about really anything else of the physical world other than getting their basic physical needs met, which they get through they're human, right? Or through their nature environment, if they live in the wild. So anyway, I love this work and I'm grateful and so glad I get to do it and share it with all of you. And of course, one of my favorite things too is leading sacred crystal retreats in Arkansas, where we work with the crystals. We learn how to activate DNA, telepathically communicate with crystals, use them for healing, and we just fall in love with each other. And I also love, now I'm going to be leading for the first time a sacred retreat in Sedona. So excited about that. Working with the vortexes in Sedona, the piezoelectric crystals here in Sedona, which are all about awakening consciousness, especially the third eye, pineal gland, pituitary gland, thymus gland, really opening and activating all the centers in the body, and literally the portal that is us as a portal to the divine and the higher realms. This is advanced teachings, but I will be covering it in Sedona on the Sacred Sedona Retreat. All right, so that's enough about me. But for those of you who don't know me, my website is lorispagna.com, and that's my name. You can find out about all that stuff over at the website under the Live Events tab. And I want to make a note I'm going to give you an offer today if you want to work with me individually in, more close proximity. But with that said, let's get on with the topic. So the topic is following your divine guidance and intuition for your highest and most benevolent best trajectory. So let's first understand 2020, just going back to that, now that we understand like the theme of the next few years, how that theme is going to play out for you as an individual is your personal trajectory, your personal storyline, and your personal journey of awakening. So your personal journey of awakening will be basically always dictated, in a sense, dictated is the wrong word, but driven or, navigated by your consciousness to the degree that you're conscious, your unconsciousness to the degree that you're unconscious, which is all that unconscious stuff we talked about a lot last week, and your own karmic stuff, which karma is a whole separate conversation. We're not going to get into it today, but it's kind of like whatever maybe is unresolved. Let's talk about it from that perspective, because karma is also cause and effect. We can also call karma a boomerang effect, like what you put out, you get back energetically. You can call it, it's related to the laws of the universe, so it does matter what you put out energetically, thoughts, beliefs, ideas, opinions, judgments, etc. But it's also what's unresolved, what has been unresolved in your field from this and other lifetimes, including in between lifetimes. So those are the three things that are going to kind of indicate your trajectory, what you're conscious of, consciously intending and choosing, what you're unconscious of, that's affecting you unconsciously, and of course, anything that's generally what we call karmic, which is unresolved issues, let's call that. And all that stuff, by the way, is stored in your Akashic records, in your records of your soul's experience. I'm not here to talk about Akashic records today, so slight diversion there. But what happens, what's going to happen, and if you didn't see this happen in 2020, it happened. It happened, is that humanity and you as an individual, all of us, we will only change our behavior typically in the old paradigm when the pain of staying in the old paradigm, staying the way we've been, becomes more than the pain of changing. So COVID, as a gift to the collective, in a sense, forced humans to become more conscious, to make change, right? Because it was a consequence, an effect of not having changed in a more benevolent way. Now, at the same time, we could also say, and it is true, that COVID was a huge gift because thankfully, because we have made so much change, especially in the Lightworker community, the first and second wavers, that was a very benevolent way. We might not see it that way, but it was to help us make change. So it's not like we were so bad and wrong. It was the collective experience to get us to make change. And in many ways, it was much more benevolent than it might have been if we hadn't made all the change we've made. And at the same time, it was the force to create greater change for those of us who weren't making change. Now, I'm just using that as one example. The point that I'm making is that we humans tend to stay in our comfort zone. We tend to not want to change. And if we don't willingly make the change, the universe will sort of force things up. The universe or our own higher selves. So when we go back to the storyline of the three things that are going to navigate us on our trajectory, everything we're conscious of that we consciously choose and intend, everything we're unconscious of that we don't realize, and anything that's unresolved for us as individuals, we are going to navigate this in the next 3 years at least through whatever change we consciously choose, unconsciously choose, change or stagnancy, and whatever unresolved issues are brought to the surface. And if we are not making appropriate changes internally and externally, but especially internally, more than anything internally, to navigate our way to our most benevolent, best trajectory, the change will be forced or coerced upon us by the universe, by our own higher self, through pain, through some form of pain or suffering. So I hope this is making sense and that you're following me. So you know your pain and suffering because it's stuff that upsets you emotionally, physically, physical health issues, physical crises. Our animals get sick. Emotionally, we're upset. A relationship, we went through this last time. Relationships go wrong. We have money problems, financial problems, career problems. I mean, we talked about them, the major areas last time. So that pain, whatever it is, comes up to the surface to be resolved, right? And if we're been unconscious about it in navigating, it's some kind of karmic issue comes up so that it can be resolved. Why? To get us to align with our most benevolent, best trajectory, right? That's the purpose of Ascension. That's what humanity is going through right now without them really knowing, because third wavers still don't understand these concepts. So the idea of navigating to your most benevolent, best trajectory requires you to use your intuition, which that we are getting there, so stay with me, to identify both consciously, unconsciously. I do this just as a visual, but what's in your consciousness, what's in your unconsciousness, and what is unresolved for you in all those layers and levels of your being, all of your aspects of your consciousness, so that you can navigate to your most benevolent, best trajectory. Now, the intuition that you use is going to be your guiding force. It's going to be your guiding force. And where does the intuition come from? Does anyone want to type anything in? Oh, Tammy. Tammy wrote, Lori is the real deal. Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate that. I love your feedback. All right, so where does your intuition come from? I want to hear from you guys. You guys want to type it in? Where does your intuition come from? By the way, I want to say that I did review what I could from my Facebook page about the comments from people asking for some support and assistance, and I am going to address that. So stay with me, because I want to be here for you guys. I made notes and from like Emily, Mary, Violet, Linda, Sandy. There were Mark. I got a good one from Mark. So stay with me because I'll get to those. Carol says God. Roxana, heart. Emma says guides. Carol says the Holy Spirit and your own spiritual self. Stephanie says higher self. Rebecca says higher self. Lots of higher selves. Jody, higher self. Your own inner guidance from your higher self, from within, from source, from spirit guides, your heart source. Okay, here's my answer to it. Everywhere and anywhere you will receive it. Everywhere and anywhere. Here's why. The divine is within you, and the divine is sort of external to you, depending on how you are identifying. There is nowhere that the divine is not. The divine is infinite, omnipresent, omnipotent consciousness, omnipotent awareness, infinite. We don't even know what infinite is. We don't have a way to measure infinite. It's just infinite. So your guidance is going to come from, in, and through anything and everywhere. Now, this is not to overwhelm you. This is to realize the infinite opportunity for you to become aware of all the incredible infinite ways that the divine is guiding and leading you, or assisting you in navigating yourself. It could come from animals. It could come from a spirit guide in an animal form, in a non-physical form. It can come from your own benevolents who have passed over, loved ones who have crossed over. It could come from plants. It could come from crystals and minerals. It could come from Mother Earth. It certainly will come through you also. That's another way, as your gut, right? The most basic, simple way that I have started to teach that, or not I have started, I've been teaching my beginners from the very beginning. I started teaching this is, I mean, this is so easy, right? Right now, whoever you are, if some part of you squeezes up, tenses up, tightens up, it's typically, if your body tightens up, it's typically a don't go that way, not that way. That's a no, right? And if any part of you is like excited, lifted, optimistic, expanded, wants something, feels excited or upward, yes, most basic thing to follow your own guidance. A lot of times after I get off these calls, in fact, the last 3 times I've done this, well, 2 times, this is the 3rd time, I got a lot of wonderful emails, which makes me so happy. I don't really get to read emails, but my assistant will plunk all like positive comments together, and she'll send me, oh, look at all this great feedback you got, because I love that, of course. And I mean, I got all these great comments about how uplifted people feel when they listen, how excited they feel, that they feel so much better. And it's like, yes, because you're interacting with the light here. That is your guidance showing you, go that way. And I mean, I don't mean to make a sales pitch here, but it is a sales pitch in a sense, because it's obvious, like that's something, when you're excited about something, your guidance is saying, go that way. Now, the part of us that wants to get stuck in change will fall back on our own pain. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I can't do it this year, not this year, next year. Like those are us falling back into our resistance to change and holding on to our comfort zone, which eventually what ends up happening when we do that is that pain will intensify, suffering will intensify, because we're not following the guidance. Excitement, enthusiasm, expansion, happiness, joy, feeling lighter, feeling better, guidance that says yes. Tightness, fear, contraction, can't do it, won't do it, got to stay small, going to stay in my comfort zone, maybe later, I decided not to. All of that is a pain or fear energy that we've gotten so used to that we're comfortable in our comfort zone. We stay in the mediocrity of our experience. And the thing is mediocrity will not continue to be supported on planet Earth. In the next 3 years, it's already happening. We will not allow mediocrity anymore. It's not going to be tolerated. Why? Because the new energies that we're all moving into are about us unlocking and awakening our divinity, our greatness, our potential, our superhuman abilities, our greatest gifts, talents, our excitement, our joy. That is the new paradigm. And there's no way that we are not going to be able to align ourselves with that. That's our trajectory then, that our guidance is going to be leading us towards, is that new paradigm, that new trajectory. Those new frequencies. And the trajectory essentially becomes our journey of how we navigate that. And the wrong turn, so to speak, is always the thing that keeps us stuck in our old comfort zone, our mediocrity. And as you can see from what's going on Earth, that's being pushed to the surface. I mean, I don't need to say it again, right? For us to see it. That's our shadow. That's our old paradigm, fear-based stuff. And all of that mediocrity is not where we're going. That is a descending timeline. That descending timeline, it's a dead end, literally. So we have to be able to navigate our way to the higher frequency timeline of the new paradigm, fifth dimensional construct of reality based in love and joy and optimism, and anything that makes you excited and optimistic is your signpost. Simple. Now, this is not, let's just get clear on one thing before we move forward on navigating using our intuition and our guidance. This is not about irresponsibility. Oh, screw it all. I don't care who I screw over in the process or who I hurt. This is not about ridiculous indulgence. I'm going to eat some cookies because sugar. I'm just going to go, have a beer. Like, that is old paradigm indulgence. So I had an assistant for a couple of years on some of the events I've done, and her kind of overall motto is like, I only do what I love. But she is very irresponsible. She is leaving behind karmic debt because she is so self-serving. She's still functioning from this kind of narcissism, like it's all about me, what I want. That is not following your guidance. If you're creating karmic residue and you're being irresponsible in how you affect the world or others in your field, that is also a wrong turn, so to speak. It's never a wrong turn. It's just you're going to end up having to clean up that karmic crap, which creates more unresolved stuff. So it's important to understand the trajectory is not just about me. The trajectory is going to be what is for your most benevolent best with zero harm and zero detriment, ideally. Can't control it all. And with zero karmic residue. Very important. Most spiritual teachers out there, even that are out there, I've been on world stages with many of them, expos and platforms, they still don't seem to understand that. It's amazing because there's a big difference between service to, okay, this is a whole other topic area. How do I want to say this? I want to say this in the most effective way for you. So I'm asking source. On the journey of our ascension, the old paradigm was service to self and zero responsibility, taking zero responsibility for the effect of what we do. The new paradigm, in my opinion, the journey, we start to wake up to service to the greater good of all. Beautiful. That's beautiful. That is when we're in service to the greater good of all, we're on a right trajectory. We're moving away from service to self. When we're willing to take full and complete responsibility for our experience, including our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, our belief systems, our feelings, our experience, physically, emotionally, the whole thing, our relationships even, we're on a right trajectory. It's not the ultimate, but it's the right trajectory. It's getting us aligned with that new paradigm. And our inner navigation gets stronger because now we're taking responsibility and we are in service to the greater good of all. That includes ourselves. No harm to ourselves. When we're being responsible, but the ultimate is when we start aligning with service to the divine. And there's lots of people already doing that. So the idea is, who are we really serving? Are we serving the self? Are we serving the greater good of all, including the self? Or are we serving the divine? The new paradigm, when we are anchored in there, we will be more and more in service to the divine. Why? Because the divine is you. You are the divine. And all of your greatest gifts, talents, and abilities will be birthed more and more as you are serving the divinity that is within you. And it still means zero harm and zero detriment, and certainly zero karmic debt. We do not want to be further incurring karmic debt. We're meant to be cleaning it up at this time and resolving it. That's what we have to resolve. So you're following your guidance does not mean, oh, I'm just going to go eat some cookies and sugar and drink some beer, because that is harmful to your body. Can you understand where I'm saying following your guidance has to begin with the foundational understanding that not only are you following what feels good and right, but you're also taking a responsibility for your role, what's going on. And as you're doing that, you are also ensuring to the best of your ability that you are not further incurring any kind of pain or suffering or karmic debt, karmic kickback. So if you are, for example, I'll go back to the Fauci example. Fauci is an opportunist, right? He is using the opportunity to further his personal agenda with zero regard to the pain and suffering it is causing humanity. That is opportunistic. The assistant that I'm referring to was very opportunistic. She came to my events and would be silently, secretly in the corner, pushing her programs and agendas on people, which I didn't mind when I thought we were friendly, and then leaving behind, and it had no understanding that there's no integrity in that, and that she was hurting somebody in the process of treating them so disrespectfully or so you have to be paying attention to your effect, taking responsibility for how you affect people, at the same time knowing you cannot control it all. You're not responsible for someone else's feelings. You are responsible for how you navigate, and that you do your very best to the best of your ability to cause zero pain and suffering. So if you're doing that along your journey, you are going to find that you are always being guided and led to the highest, we call it harmonic. What do I mean by harmonic? The frequency bandwidth that is most harmonic, most in harmony for you. Because everything in our experience, everything is what you're harmonic, where you are harmonizing. Based on these three factors we're talking about: your conscious, your unconscious, and the energetic residue that is in your field, your morphogenetic field of who you are, which encompasses all life, all layers of energetics, frequencies, vibrations of who you are. So does this make sense? How are you all with me on this? And we'll go to the next step on this. Is this making sense to all of you guys? Tammy says, brilliant. That makes so much sense. Awesome. Yeah, I would love to see some more of your feedback, because I like to know that you guys are with me. David says yes. Sue says, makes perfect sense. Juliana says yes, absolutely. Okay, awesome. So the thing is like in that old paradigm, we just weren't looking at what we were doing, right? How we were affecting others, or we weren't taking responsibility for how we were affecting the world or other people or our situation. And we were thinking it was all of our power was external to us. We just didn't understand that the power is in taking responsibility for one's own journey. Now, the moment you start taking responsibility, what happens is the entire universe is going to start steering you and navigating you. So one of the other things about following your own divine guidance is setting your course, understanding your course. What is the course that you want to be on? Now, in the DNA activation calls, and also we address this in the New Year, New You class I just did, we talk about something called your true north, which is a code in the DNA, and it also represents in astrology. I've talked about this, so I'm not going to go back over it. But your true north, when you activate this code in the DNA, by the way, it starts to naturally awaken within you that inner knowing, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm going in this direction energetically. This is where I'm intending to go. This is my right direction. This is my right alignment. That's what that code is. So it's in the DNA to help us navigate. Like that's a huge resource for us, is our own DNA, as we start activating and awakening it. And that's why I love doing DNA activation so much. That said, when you start choosing your course with your intention, your higher self and the entire universe is going to start steering you in that direction. That's why intention is another powerful way, a tool to use to help you navigate. Now, let's say, for example, your intention, great intention, this is what I was about to say, that you set your course to align with your most benevolent, best trajectory. Write it down, that simple statement. It is my divine intention to align. It is my divine intention. You wouldn't even be here. It's everyone's intention on earth right now. It's just a lot of people have been steered off course, distracted. There's all those distractions, largely coming from the mainstream media, but not only from there, but certainly. So if your intention is to align yourself with your most benevolent, best trajectory, and you want that to happen in a way, this is good, write this down, that is most graceful and benevolent for you, for your body, for your being, for your life and your living, with harm to none, ideally. Just the moment, write it down, pin it up on the wall, and remind yourself, your guidance is going to start naturally guiding you in that direction. It's going to start gifting you and awakening that potential for you. It will make things, so when something gets really hard, it's typically not a little hard, not like, oh, I can't find the PayPal button, but like really hard, it's because your guidance is saying no. I'm going to give you a great example. For 3 years, I was leading a dolphin retreat. I loved leading the dolphin retreat. We'd swim with the dolphins. It was incredible. I loved the people who came on my journey. I loved it. And I was working really hard at it. Like they were, 15-hour days, because that's the kind of retreats I lead. They're intensives. People get the maximum benefits. I was doing teachings, healings, meditations, readings, the whole retreat. And I was selling really hard because the people that I was leading the retreat with, they would sell their retreat without me for like $1,400. But because I was also trying to make a living, some profit, my retreat was like $1,800. And so my people, I was selling it and I was selling them, and then my people would call them up to try to book it, and they'd end up on all the other retreats because it was like less money, or just because there were other dates, more options. So I'm trying to sell my retreat, but meanwhile, I'm selling for the people. It got so hard, and I had a minimum number of people I had to sell for them, was like 18 or something, that the last and third year, I got to the 18th person that I had to sell. It was so hard. It was such a struggle for me. Like I couldn't fill the retreat. I couldn't understand it. Like, why is this so hard? I was like crying. Like I really knew I loved doing it. I knew I was delivering the maximum best. I wasn't trying to make money. I was just trying to, make enough money, because obviously they took $1,500 basically. It's $1,495. They took that. I was only making like $400 a person basically, or something like that. So I get to the 18th person, and it turns out that 18th person ended up, she wrote to us. She's like, I'm ready to book now. I'm like, okay, just call this number and book with them, because they handled the booking. And that 18th person booked on one of their retreats, not mine. And the next day, the woman who was running the retreat called me and said, you still have an 18th person to book. And I'm like, oh no, no, we're not doing that. No. And I had a breakdown. I went to one of my great friends, Leslie, who does aura colors, if you know her. Love her. And she now lives in Italy. And she said to me, Lori, I'm gonna pull cards for you. She just was like, let me find, something's not right here. I couldn't see it. I could not see it. Why was this so hard? The next year I started doing the crystal retreats in Arkansas. And they're so much better. I loved the dolphin retreats. Don't get me wrong. But the reason it got so hard, and I'm a person who follows guidance. I just wasn't seeing it, because the universe had something so much better for me, and now 40 other people. Last year we had 44 people on that crystal retreat in Arkansas. 44 people during COVID, all falling in love during a 10-day retreat and getting so much out of that retreat. And I loved it. It's like my glory to do that now. I love it. Now I understand why, because I would have kept doing those dolphin retreats if they were going so easy. I would have kept doing that. So you can see when things get really hard. I'm not talking about a little hump, because the universe does make us work for our greatness. The universe will push us. That was hard work to get through that. It was devastating for me. And it was scary to go out on my own and do the crystal retreat in Arkansas. And since then, it has continually every year gotten better and better and better. And now I'm expanding even more into Sedona, doing a Sedona retreat, which I know is going to be even more better. Why? Because that's how the universe stretches us and aligns us with our highest trajectory, our most benevolent best. It means we got to get out of our comfort. And I couldn't see past my own comfort zone if I love swimming with dolphins. I can still swim with dolphins. It just wasn't my retreat to lead. There was something better. So you understand, if you see in your community, in your life, not just your community, but your experience, your trajectory, something is just really, really hard, that's usually your guidance telling you, no, not that way. And your inner guidance, like COVID, is hard. Being afraid is hard. Being afraid to die is hard. Being afraid to live is hard. Oh my God. But being in joy and excitement and optimism and planning for your future and taking risks to become more, to become greater, to become better, to expand, to make friends, to travel, whatever is your excitement, that's exciting. That's fun. That's uplifting. Right? So that is a great tool of navigation. Now, of course, okay, let me pause for a second. And as you're using your intention to align with your most benevolent best trajectory, that's where I was. Your universe and the whole universe is going to assist you. It will make things harder that are not for your most benevolent best. That was the experience, the example of the trajectory I told with the dolphin journey. But it will, when you get rightly aligned, the floodgates will open. So much will open. So much will open. So, okay, does this make sense? And is this helpful for you? Damien, when you say, I'm so looking forward to being able to attend one of your crystal retreats someday, I wonder what's holding you back. I wonder what's stopping you. Why someday? Do you know what happens when we say we're going to do something someday? Typically, it means never. I've come to realize. I've heard people, like, I've been doing this work, and I'm not poo-pooing on you. I would love to have you come. But I know I'll fill the retreat no matter what, because it's that fabulous and it's really affordable. But my point is that when we put things off into someday, what we're doing typically, I mean, ask within yourself, but typically what we're doing is we're holding off on our happiness. We're holding ourselves in a box of smallness, of our old comfort zone. And we keep ourselves stuck. We self-sabotage. Those are all programs in the unconscious that can be cleared and resolved. 2 weeks ago, I bought a class on a whim. That was a $1,000 online class, home study class. And it was about, it's still like a marketing and business tool, right? Because that's not an area that I know a lot about. And it's so unlike me to do that, to just, buy a class like that on a whim. Because I'm sort of a person who likes to check it out a little and resonate, but it just felt so right. Now, I know the guy was a good salesperson. He got to my pain. But I realized that in the moment while I was doing it, I was consciously saying to myself, I am ready for greatness, something greater in my personal trajectory and in the way I serve and contribute to the world and others. And so this is what I'm saying. When you decide you're ready for something better, you're not going to put your happiness, your joy, or your fulfillment on the end of some kind of dangling carrot in your future. And this happens very common on the Ascension timeline, by the way. Hi, Therese. The Ascension timeline, very many people, and this has stopped a little bit since 2020 because of COVID, but they would for years be like, the event is coming. And I think that's a joke. No, now they say the event is here with COVID. They could say that, but no. When you are ready, the event is now. Now, there's nothing to wait for. But the idea of when you are ready is all based on what you will consciously and unconsciously allow yourself to do, to experience, to have, to be right now. Because your future looks exactly as the same as it does right now. I promise you. Anyone who wants a prediction, I promise you, your future looks exactly the way it does right now, in any now moment, until and unless you make a change in the now. And this is one of the biggest things I can say. Your guidance will let you, in a way, stay stuck in the now to help you realize your own blocks. It will, because it will push up the shadow and the pain from the unconscious and from anything that's unresolved if you don't take action in the now. Now, that doesn't mean you can't say, okay, I want to go on this retreat and I want to do this and I want to do that, and I'm just going to, which one's best for me? I'm going to evaluate. But it doesn't mean not doing that. It does mean not futurizing everything one day in the future. And the reason I'm saying this is because, if anything, that is what we're having to realize now, is that we don't have a lot of time to dilly-dally in sense of the ascension. Stuff is being pushed up to the surface. It's getting very intense for anyone who's having any form of pain or suffering of any kind, whether it's an animal companion crossing over or being sick or ill, whether it is family dynamic challenges or problems, whether it is financial challenges, whether it is physical health challenges, whether it is career or mission and purpose challenges. It doesn't matter. Whatever the challenge is, it's your unconscious pushing up the pain so that you can make change now. The pain and the suffering, 2020, perfect example, will become worse and more intense And whoever said that, I'm sorry, I just followed that stream, right? Because it was a good teaching moment. So please don't feel like I'm pointing a finger or anything. It just was a good opportunity to share on this. Is that the idea is that whatever our blockages are, energetic perceptions and density, shadow, is coming up in a very intense way and will continue to intensify because ascension of humanity requires us to be more and more in a state of joy, happiness, health, well-being, service and contribution to the greater good of all and to the divinity that is us for all with zero harm. So all that stuff is coming up and being pushed up so we can see it, perceive it, and realize it, and not so that we futurize our happiness. We're not meant to futurize our happiness, our joy, our health, and our well-being. It's supposed to be now. All right, I hope that's helpful and makes sense. Yeah, oh, Sarah, that was you, and you responded, I'm currently restructuring all of my financial structures right now due to the gift of COVID. That's good. And I'm relearning and remembering through your classes how to do that will. I know your name, by the way. I know you've taken my class. I've worked with you. I know you. So, and how that will own my power. Thank you. Love you. She's so sweet. Thank you for saying that. So the point of it is that it's not even about, it's just, that's great if you're restructuring and realigning and reattuning in a way that's right for you. But the point is to never put aside our future, put our joy into the future. The joy, the happiness, the action, the willingness to change. Because it sounds like your response is that you are making that change. And that's right, because change, the biggest change is from within, right? The biggest lie, one of the biggest lies, no, it's not the biggest lie, but it was a big lie that Obama told. He didn't think it was a lie probably, but he said change doesn't come from the top, it comes from the bottom. No, change doesn't come from the top or the bottom. Change comes from within. All change comes from within. It's true. So in any case, we make the change from within in the current moment. And that's why I love the healing process. That's why I love the healing journey. And that's why I love retreats and all healing that comes with it, because that is what changes us internally, right? That's the internal change that we make. And as we make that, our navigation, by the way, gets clearer. So let's get back to navigating and using our own internal guidance. So we talked about some of the tools already. Following your joy, your happiness, right? Following that spark, letting the really hard no's and the hardnesses be the recognition not that way, and the lightness and the joy and the upliftment and the expansion, the excitement be a yes that way. And we talked about that the universe has infinite ways of giving us guidance, our divinity, that it can come through animals, plants, minerals, crystals, Mother Earth. It could come through loved ones who have crossed over. It could come through, yes, our inner gut, our inner, angst or excitement. These are all ways. So, and of course, it can come through other things too. Numerology, namology. I talked about namology a couple weeks ago. There are infinite potentials for how the universe and our own divinity can guide us and lead us. Your job, all of our job, is to find whatever those ways are that are most exciting to us and for us. So if you get excited, for example, about astrology, like that is a tool I use. I really don't sell services of astrology, but I'm an excellent astrologer. And that's because I was excited about astrology. I know that I have been an astrologer and an astronomer in many other lifetimes. I didn't feel drawn to learning it in this lifetime. I just felt like I could look at my chart and understand it intuitively, and that I could ask the chart to talk to me and tell me what I need to know. And I had a lot of friends. I still have a lot of friends who are astrologers, and I chat with them and talk with. Like I never really had to learn it or study it formally, but it was an excitement. Now it's a tool I use. I love the Akashic Records. I took lots of classes in the Akashic Records. I have a class on my website about, you can learn the Akashic Records. It's a great class. I teach it, right? It can be learned as a home study. That was a way that I was excited about that, and I learned it. And I'm still, it's something that's infinite. So I still learn that. I got excited about the DNA. That was sort of awakened from within me, from my experience as a first contact. I call it a first contact experience. My star family race, induction, I call it sometimes. I know that they awakened enough of that DNA in me to activate that potential within me, and then the rest was like a domino effect. That became a huge tool for me, which now I use in service to others. Animals. You could love animal totems. You don't even need to be highly intuitive to get that. You see an animal, you can look up, what is the animal totem for this animal? And you can start learning that the universe put that animal in front of you to help you understand something, right? That animal showed up in your path for a reason, to help you get some information. So animal totems are another way to follow divine guidance. See, the point is, if you're willing to allow the entire universe to be your teacher and your guide, you can use everything in the field that excites you. Animal totems. Another one I talked about, I said earlier, namology. Oh, Susie, you said you loved the Akashic Records class. I'm so glad. I love that class. I would teach it again a million times if I had more time. Namology. I love the study of names. I did teach and do teach and have taught a class on namology. I want to do it again. I love sacred namology. It excited me. It was an exciting way and a fun way to learn about spiritual truth, higher truth, and to understand my world. I studied it it's been 20 years, and now it's a tool I use, and it does guide me. Sometimes I will say there are a few names in the world that when I hear that name, I know, watch out, that's trouble. And then sometimes there's names, what I like even better, which I'll use the word name Sarah as a great example. The name Sarah, to me, trustworthy person. That's what it means, and a very helpful person. I know I can trust Sarahs. So this is another example of me using the universe, that I can learn and allow the universe to support and assist me. I talked about animal communication and telepathy, or if I haven't really talked about animals teaching us and guiding us, learning what their messages are. Animals have a role and a mission. We've talked about that a little, and if you guys know me, that's another way that the universe and other intelligence can guide us. I also love connecting with loved ones who have crossed over. I mean, they have so much wisdom from the non-physical world. And my earliest teacher, other than the animals, was my brother Jeff, who transitioned. I mean, man, that guy has taught me so much from the non-physical world. I mean, do you know, one time I was in yoga class, and it was during the end of the class. It was during samadhi. And so everyone's all blissed out. And somehow my mind came to that connection with my brother. And I remember having the awareness, like, it's been so long since we connected. Where have you been? What have you been up to? And he told me and shared with me two massive things in the span of like 10 minutes of samadhi. He taught me about how he had taken a brief time to not really fully incarnate as an unborn child who was ultimately aborted, because the woman who was pregnant was very, very religious. I think she was of like a Hispanic origin. That's what I got from him. And he wanted to learn the value of life from a whole other being, because he essentially suicided through overdose. And he got to learn by being embryonic, in the embryonic stage, because this woman went through so much angst of her religious beliefs, but she just knew it was not right for her to have this baby. And she had to break through her own religious indoctrinations and her own lessons. So he was helping her to learn that by his willingness to be aborted. And he was simultaneously learning from her the value of life, which was everything she knew to be true. Can you believe I learned this from my brother, my dead brother? Incredible. I would never have learned that. I would never know that if he didn't share that. He taught me so much. So our loved ones from the non-physical can teach us so much, so much. And they can help us navigate, of course, our angels. Yesterday, I was in a sacred connection with the angel Zeidkel, who also has a role in the Bible that I am not studying. But what he was telling me is that his role is to watch over, in the Bible, to watch over the sheep. And he was explaining how, I'm sort of tuning into his knowledge now because I'm translating it from what I learned. He's there to help facilitate the expansion of consciousness for people to move from that kind of sheep herd mentality to more conscious. And so he watches over humans, and the sheep is kind of the aspect of our unconscious, of us that is unconscious, that he helps people to become more conscious. And he was sharing this with me. There's so much more. I could go into a channel on it, but you see, he's an angelic being who also is known and recognized as a ascended master, Ezekiel, in the Bible. I have not read the Bible, so I don't know this from the Bible. I only know this from what he was sharing. And I was in a group that was, anyway, there's a long story on it, but it was fascinating. What he was sharing was his role and how he helps people to wake up and how he helps people with even discernment. And that is part of his role as an ascended master and an angelic. He's played both roles with slightly different names. Wow. Like I just got so much learning from him in just like a 5-minute meditation. So learning to connect with angels and ascended masters and other beings from the non-physical, incredible way to learn. And we learn this through meditation. We learn this through energy healing and through sacred practice and sacred ritual. And when we're around others who are doing this, we learn it from the experience, right? That's why I do so many prayer circles, healing circles, meditative circles, downloads, activations, clearings. That's why I lead retreats. That's why I do online workshops, because that's where I'm sharing all of that with people. So people are developing that and learning it. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. There's other ways we can follow our guidance when we let the universe, in all the ways that it has to teach us, be our guidance. And I mean, the crystals, I've talked about that a gazillion times. The crystals are record keepers, and they literally are our teachers and guides. The piezoelectric crystals in Sedona are massively here to help awaken consciousness, activate the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, which are the master glands, and also the high heart, the thymus here, this whole center here above the heart and in the heart, to awaken our guide, our inner connection. The vortex energies in Sedona are designed to help intensify and amplify our learning so we can receive it and integrate it. So these are all ways, and I've just barely scratched the surface of ways we can learn to use and navigate our guidance. And all of it is basically designed to put us in the trajectory of what we are choosing. So that's why if you're writing down, my intention is to align myself with my most benevolent best trajectory in ways that are good, right, and appropriate. Write those words down if you didn't already. You're going to be navigating the universe, and your own higher self will be doing that for you, using all the tools of the universe. Numerology, namology, astrology, animal communication, telepathy, working with angels and guides, ascended master, like on and on. The plants, the minerals, the crystals. It's endless. It's infinite. Infinite. Your own DNA. Infinite. Most important is that you put yourself in an environment. Dr. Bruce Lipton. It's all environment, right? Put yourself in an environment, and I'm going to define environment, that will support you on this. What do I mean by environment? The environment of your brain. Do not listen to toxic mass media. Even the TV, even the movies. I was watching this really good movie last night on Netflix, all about this woman who wanted to become a sous chef. A chef for sushi. Maybe you guys know that movie. It's on right now I think it was Netflix. Anyway, it might have been Hulu, but I think it was Netflix. It was a really good movie, but the whole movie was and it was beautiful. She had to break through her own limitation of the world. So many things she had to break through and take so many risks. It was a beautiful story. And without disclosing the end, it was a happy ending where you see her become victorious. But the whole movie was just about at the same time, really reinforcing this idea that the universe is not supporting her. I loved the movie, but I can see through how it's, painting the picture that the world's against you and the universe is not supporting you. And nothing's gonna, there were so many times where her journey was slightly oh, now what? All these kind of bad things happening to her. And I did love the movie, and it was a, victorious movie. And I love that. But if a person's not really conscious enough, it will reinforce, a movie like that can reinforce these belief systems the world is against me, the world's not on my side, nothing's working, nothing I do works. On and on like that. And that is how our old paradigm is set up to believe and perceive. And so when I say put yourself in an environment, I mean your mind. I also mean your physical environment. That means your house, your home, the place you live, the people you work around, the people you interact with. It really matters. For those of you who listened last time, you heard some of the story about my own family storyline, that I literally did have to extricate myself, at least for a time being, from the people that I was, and that was a 3-year or more whole lifetime process of learning it matters who we put ourselves near. Put yourself near high vibe people. Put yourself near, that's why retreats are so great. That's why classes and workshops based in consciousness are so important, because you put yourself near people who are of like mind, who are on the Ascension tribe, on the Ascension path, on the Ascension journey, who are waking up their divinity, and who are facilitating that in uplifting and supportive ways. Your environment matters. That is one of the key and most important things. And the environment of what you put into your body, the food substance, the environment of your nature environment, all of that is what matters. That's where I was going with that. So I hope that makes sense, so that you're supported and uplifted by your environment. It is so important. So again, what you listen to, what you watch. I have a dear friend who I love so, so much. He is so advanced on his spiritual journey. He is so advanced, but he, in his unconscious, has completely neglected his physical. It's his area of growth, right? His area, because he is so advanced spiritually. But he has not valued his physical form. And I am so sure that he, from his lifetimes of spiritual growth, really just started to believe and perceive that the body is not that important. and that in this lifetime, he's really meant to change that dynamic for himself. But however, that said, his physical form is quite unhealthy. And I say to him all the time, please put stuff on in the background, like health podcasts. You don't even have to listen. You don't have to do anything. Just put it on in the background rather than, he still watches the news. He thinks he's immune and impervious to it. I think, why would you put yourself in a toxic environment? Doesn't matter if you're immune and imperviousness to it. It's a frequent. He's like, well, my frequency's so beyond. Okay, but your health is really bad. So it matters. It matters. Pay attention to what goes into your brain and what's in your environment. That includes what you listen to, what you watch, what you hear, what you eat, what you ingest, who you're around. See, the fact that he's around me, I mean, he's such a positive contribution in my world. I love him so much. I could see that that was a service I was offering to him. He just didn't have that awareness. So, okay, I hope this is making sense. I would love to hear some of your feedback on this. How is this helping? And I'm going to go to some of those questions. And please let me know how this is serving and helping you. So I'm going to go to some of your questions. Right before I do, because like I said, I grabbed some questions from my Facebook page from last week, because I want to help people, and I want to know what you're working on. And I would love, if you want to also, you can put in here in this chat, what your challenges are, what your struggles are, because that's how I can help better. If I understand, like, what is it that's most challenging to you at this time? We can't solve everything in 5 minutes, but at least it can help me to know how I can best serve and support the community and the tribe. So let me say, Sue says, great reminder about environment. It all matters. It really does. It really, really does. Thanks, Sue. So I do want to say this, and then I'll go to the questions. On my website at lauriespagna.com, first of all, one of the free gifts I just don't remember to give it to people. And it occurred to me last week when I was like giving people some free gifts, I forgot to mention this one. I'm working on getting some more free gifts up. Like, they're really nice and fun for people to get, like samples, so they can get to know me, and they also get the benefit of some things. And I try to make free gifts things that will really serving the collective, like serve the Ascension. Like the one that's the free gifts for animals, lauriespagna.com/free gifts/animals. It really is so packed with great stuff to help animals, and also to help the people who love animals. And the one for the DNA is just packed with stuff about the DNA, lauriespagna.com/free gifts/DNA. And then the one with the crystals, lauriespagna.com/free gifts/crystals. That's really mostly to help people who love crystals and want to use them. And there's the crystals in there, what to do with them, and your how they can help you with your ascension in your house and what you need to do with them. That's a great gift too. But the one I always forget is the one on the behaviors. I don't even think it's in here. I don't even know what that link is. Does anyone know that one? Damn. I wanted to say it today and I don't have it ready. I'm doing a new one for wealth and prosperity, and I'm doing another new one for ascension for humanity. But I wanted to mention this one. I think it's 8 behaviors. lauriespagna.com/free gifts. I thought I had it out. I was going to give it to you guys today. I have one for healing, but that one's only in my community. I don't announce it publicly, only to my inner community on the newsletter list, because I do healing for people on my newsletter list pretty much weekly, like just remote healing, not huge thing, but it helps. But anyway, I think I might be able to find it really fast. This is from my tech guy. Oh, darn, I don't remember it. I was going to give it to you guys today. Talk about being unprepared, right? It's the 8 behaviors. It's the 8 behavior, but it might just say behaviors. I have to let it go because I can't find it. I don't say it enough and I forget, but there's a whole thing there. So if anyone knows it, you can plug it in there. If any of you guys have it, something like lorispagna.com/free gifts/behaviors. This is what happens when you give away a lot of free gifts. Anyway, maybe for next time. 8 behaviors. I found it. lorispagna.com/free gifts/8 behaviors. It's the key 8 behaviors we must adopt to align with our most benevolent best trajectory. It says with the 5th dimensional paradigm, but you will like that if you're wanting to really understand how to align. And it's all about like virtues and behaviors, ways of being that will help you navigate. It's a great little, gift freebie. If you're interested, I'll make a copy here. Now that I found it. I like to give away free gifts. It's fun and it helps people. And let's learn. And did it come? Did it work? It's funny, I put it in there. It's not showing up. It might show up in a minute. Sometimes that happens. There it is. Yeah, so you guys can go get that if you want. But I do want to just tell you about this class, then I'm going to do the questions. So in 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks, on March 16th, I am starting a 5-week Ascension coaching and healing retreat webinar. Now, I've done this twice before, or 3 times before. Most of the people who do it, they do it again and again. And the next series is beginning on Tuesday, March 16th. And it's 5 consecutive Tuesdays where we do coaching and healing. And I would like to invite you to it. And I'm going to give you a coupon code that you can use to save $100. If you go to lorispagna.com under live events, you'll see the 5-week Ascension Channeled Coaching and Healing Retreat. It's the next live 5-week event. It has also a bonus healing week in there, which is its own, bonus healing. And it's by webinar, so you get the recordings. You don't have to be live, but the whole thing is about putting ourselves in an environment, no matter where we are, where we can get the support and the assistance that we need during this time of navigation. Because the next 3 years, one of the biggest things I hear in the Lightworker community is you don't know what's true anymore. People don't know what's true because they haven't developed their discernment. And this is what I was saying about when I share the world stages with people, like on panels, I can tell because I've developed really good discernment painstakingly, painfully, who's basically, full of SHIT. Like on those panels, I can tell who's lying. And what happens is a lot of people don't always understand. They don't even know a lot of times that they're lying. They're just salesmen. So like, for example, there's some people who will come in and they'll do energy clearing for you and they'll tell you it's some kind of star beings and they leave you on a high, but they're creating a codependent relationship with you, a debt, a karmic debt, because they're not replacing for you, I'm saying you, but I mean the people they work with, they're not replacing any gifts of consciousness. They just leave you feeling high and happy. So they take away your pain and suffering because the ETs working through them are benefiting from your pain and suffering. That's how they feed themselves. It's hard to believe that, but it's all energy. So they take away your pain and suffering. You suddenly are at this high level, but you haven't gotten any gifts in replacement. So a week later or a month later, you need to come back for another hit. And you're like, I got to go back to that person because they made me feel so good. I need it again. But this is a debt relationship, a karmic debt, because they're not giving you what they take away, they're getting. And what they give you is a high. but no real gifts. It creates a void and emptiness afterwards. It's an addiction relationship, and people aren't conscious of the fact that that's going on. So it's just one example. But there's a lot of that stuff out there, and people don't know. The biggest challenge in the Lightworker community is how to know the difference. What's serving you and what's not. What's true and what's not. What's real and what's not. Developing the discernment, getting it around, really getting around people who are really there in service to you, and not, oh, this is like awkward, and not just, selling a bill of goods. It takes time to develop that discernment and to really learn it and understand it. And I get it that I had to go through that really hard stuff because I was learning it myself, but also because that is how the universe works. Your gifts that you learn, you then give them in service and contribution. Your hardships in life are ultimately ways that you will likely serve others. In any case, this 5-week support group is really to help support people in this way. So it's always channeled. There's always channeling and teachings and healings. This time, I want to be focusing really on helping people to more successfully use their intuition. There's so many tools and ways we can use our intuition. We've talked about a lot of it today. I really want to help people because you can't always be relying on someone outside of you. You can rely on yourself. I got myself into a little bit of a codependent intuition relationship this year because I was leaving Florida. For me, in my family dynamic, the, SHIT hit the fan, and I had to relocate and leave Florida. Like the universe was just basically kicking me in the karmic ass to resolve this old relationship stuff that had gone on for my whole life, that I was working on it my whole life, but it just wasn't getting resolved. And it was finally like, no more pain and suffering. You've got to be done pushing this up to the surface. So I was working with someone who I got a little bit codependent on, because really this person was so helpful to me, so beautiful and wonderful in service, like just so beautiful. But when I got to Sedona, it was like, okay, Lori, it's time for you to start, weaning off. You gotta go back on, like that person has served their purpose. And it took me a little time to realize, like, oh, I'm giving away some of my own knowings here. I'm giving away, I've gotten a little too codependent, and it wasn't a hard thing to do at all. It's just to reel back in the reins. It's just that I had to remember that we have the right and the ability to know our own guidance. That's what I'm saying. And we deserve to be able to use it. So I'm going to be working on that with people a lot. I really want to help people through the next 3 years as the economics change. That is a big theme that we're going to see. And it's nothing to be afraid of. It's that we must be stepping into more abundance and prosperity. It is not the other way. The descending timeline is lack and limitation. You see, this is a challenge, especially for light workers, because we do so much in service. The ascending timeline is more and more abundance and prosperity and wealth. And if we are not navigating that successfully, that's when people go and get into their money struggles, their wealth struggles. It is completely unnecessary. And I really want to assist people in that way. And so that's going to become a big theme. I'm thinking I've gotten some guidance that I may be offering, giving people in that class. I may be, though I haven't gotten a definite yes on it. It's more like an idea, because I'm always asking, like, how can I make it really great? How do I really serve my people in ways that are right for them? I'm always asking for guidance, like, how do I make it the best it can be for them? But one of the things I might be doing is offering them the full course on the money and wealth, the spiritual laws of money and wealth. That's in my sacred membership. There's always benefits with this, right? One of the other things I just don't know for sure if I'll be doing that yet. One of the other things I really want to help people with is this divine discernment. How to really, really use your discernment to know, because believe me, it can get very fuzzy along the journey. I'm not talking about the lower journey is easy to me. Okay, yeah, Fauci is an opportunistic. Bill Gates makes profit through his not-for-profit on vaccines. Fauci has patents on vaccination program. He has patents on vaccines. He's making profit off of that. He wants people to want the vaccine. That stuff, easy. That's all fact. That's not using higher level discernment. That's just fact. Anyone who wants to do the research, go do it. What I'm talking about is discernment in the higher realms as we uplift and navigate. So that is what I want to support people in this next 5-week Ascension support group. And then obviously aligning with their mission, because that is another big theme, especially for second waivers. Second waivers are now beginning to birth more and more of their divine mission and purpose. First waivers have been, I'm a first waiver. Does not mean or imply better. It just means roles, right? My role and first waivers roles were to be spiritual teachers, healers, ascension guides, ready and working, fully operational in our service and mission prior to 2011, so that we could set the stage. That is a first waiver job. Second waivers are coming online now with how am I going to serve? What am I going to do? What is my mission? How am I going to shift and change so that I'm in service to the collective more? That is a second waiver question that's happening right now. And so I want to facilitate more of that for my community and tribe and the people who are involved in this 5-week Ascension support group. One of the other key areas I really want to help is to help second waivers to assist them more in participating more and more in the sacred government, because that is all first and second waivers jobs. We are the sacred government. Third waivers have no concept about this, no understanding, but the sacred government is a huge part of our role. And this goes back to one of the questions that was so good from last week that came from Sandy, who I don't know if you're on today or not, but she was wondering, like, how do we help the collective more? That is a second waiver question. Bravo, Sandy. And the sacred government, learning how to bring that forward and how to facilitate more sacred government types of circles and communities and groups. That is a second waiver. It's also a first waiver job. So I want to, in this 5-week Ascension support group, help my community who signs up with more of that. I also really want to help people to understand more and more about the grid lines and vortexes. I will be doing that on the Sedona retreat. We also do that on the Arkansas retreat. But this is huge because the more and more grid lines and portals and vortexes that we understand how to, and pillars of light, the more we understand how to really do this and facilitate it, and also work with our own Merkabas, we will be channeling in and anchoring in even more of this light. And anchoring it into the physical world. Most people don't understand how to do this. So I will be working with my tribe and community on that and facilitating their learning on that during this 5-week Ascension support group. And of course, one of the common questions always is like the multidimensional reality. How do we access multidimensional reality? I get that question all the time. People want to access more of their multidimensional self. And the one thing I want to say about that is it is not a 5-minute teaching. No way. But everything I've taught in this class, this time on this Facebook Live, the last Facebook Live, like all of that goes into it. And I can tell you for sure that accessing your multidimensional awareness and your multidimensional consciousness is based on the purity of your frequency and vibration, which is everything we've been teaching and so much more. Anyway, I want to cover more of that in the upcoming 5-week Ascension support group. I definitely do cover that stuff in the Sacred Sedona retreat. I will be, and also in the Crystal retreat in Arkansas. But I want to go into the teaching of it. So, because those are questions that I get, and I really don't think that most people teach that in a way that is understandable. It's stuff I have covered in the Exiting the Matrix class. It's stuff I have covered in the Dark Arts class, that course. But now, I've grown and evolved, and my teaching has grown and evolved. I've gotten more advanced. That stuff is great in those classes. I review my classes a lot, and I'm like, is there anything I would change or teach differently? And sometimes there is. Like in the self-love class, I would teach it so much better now, even though it's still great. The point is like there's a lot more to offer on it because we're infinite, and I'm infinitely learning and growing, and so are you. So I want to cover that stuff, some of the new stuff and the more advanced stuff in this 5-week Ascension support group. And what I love about the 5-week Ascension support group so much is that I get to get into that because I'm working with the same group of people from week to week. And we have a private Facebook group, and we get so deep. It is like a retreat because I feel that I am very good at creating very close bonds with my community and knowing them. And the other part about this that I love so much is that I really get to find out, what your needs are. And I work with everybody in very intimately. They get to say, here's what I'm working on. Here's what I need help with. And it's not like a 2-minute answer. Like these kinds of freebies, we can do a 2-minute response at best, to help and support. But I can do really good digging with people to really get to what's at the root of stuff, to really help them resolve whatever's unresolved for them. So the people in that class or online webinar or retreat really get to go deep with me and get the attention, the one-on-one attention that they would get in a private session. Only we get to do it in a group, and the whole group gets to benefit. And if you've ever worked with me, which many of you have, you know that the way that the healing can come through, the channeling comes through, whatever's meant to come through is working for the whole group, including the animals and even your children under the age of 17. So with that said, everything is geared toward the group who registers. I'll say it again, it's the 5-week Ascension support group, channel coaching and healing group. It's under the live events tab at my website at lorispagna.com. So right now, the value of that, because it's 5 weeks plus a bonus healing call, which has typically been way more than just a healing call. Plus they typically get a bonus class. Last time I gave them the self-love class. The time before that, I gave them portals, energy portals, timelines class. That was an incredible class. This time I think I'm being guided so far to give the money class, the money and abundance class. Those classes, each one of those are worth $7.95 or more, sometimes $9.95 depending on what the course is. They get that in addition. But plus the 5-week class, plus the bonus healing, it's easily worth over $1,000. And that is the regular retail rate right now. That's posted on the website. So if you go to lorispagna.com under the live events tab, you'll see the 5-week Ascension support group. And right now there's an early bird savings of $5.95. What I love to do when people are giving, participating live, is give extra bonuses for you showing up here and now. So I'm going to give you a coupon code, and I'm going to type it in to save 100. Why doesn't it go in there right away? Is it just because? Oh, there it is. So for those of you who want to register, this coupon code is active right now. It's the word save. I wonder if it's supposed to be capital saves. I think it is, you guys. So when you go to that page, look, first let me give you this. This is you're seeing why I took a course, because I'm not a technology girl. And there are easier ways to do this with technology. That's why I bought that course, so that I could learn. But anyway, there's the link. Delayed. There's the link to the 5-week course. You can click on that. And you'll see, right now, the lowest price you get is $5.95, but the retail rate is over $1,000. So with this coupon code, if you press the Join Us button on the website, you'll see when you get to the cart, the shopping cart, I learned how to do a coupon code. I usually have a tech guy to do it, but I didn't this time. My tech guy's working on those free pages. You'll see enter the coupon code, and it's save. Yeah, it's all capital. I made a mistake in the coupon code. Save 100. Yay! And it doesn't have a $sign. It works. So here's the coupon code. SAVE, all capitals, 100. Now that is effective right now while we are live. And it's set to expire today. So it's good right now. And today, what I said I was going to do is afterwards go in and deactivate it and make it only available. So I could do that. But it's set to expire. It's good for one day only. So save 100 and you can join me. And remember that you will get lots of support. All right, I'm going to go to some of the questions that I promised. So Mark asked, my challenge right now seems to be staying patient as we and the planet go through these changes. Love your happy approach to all this. Hope it's okay to call you my sensei. That's so sweet, Mark. Okay, staying patient. This is a great question, Mark. Lightworker challenge. I'm going to go for probably about another 15 minutes. Oh, Therese says, the 5-week class is more than amazing. This is going to be my 3rd time doing it, and I have learned so much. Thank you, Therese, for sharing that. I love you. I really appreciate you sharing that because it really does help when people know, your experience. And most of the people who do it, they do it every time, like you, Therese, because it is so good, because it gets so much. And plus we have that in-between contact with the Facebook page. Thank you, Therese. All right, coming back to Mark's question. My challenge seems to be staying patient. I want to ask you this. What is your belief and your beliefs? And you don't have to answer this, and I don't even know if you're on the live call, Mark, but it was put in the Facebook, so I said I would do my best to respond. I don't know if I see you here. What is your belief and your belief system? What are your beliefs around being patient? It's the idea, and you can explore this for yourself. Like if I'm working with you direct, we can dig more because you'll interact with me and, we play off, your responses and get guidance comes through for you and healing comes through. But the idea of patience is the idea or the concept that you're waiting for something that's not here. You see, and that is a vibrational frequency. I'm waiting for something that's not here yet. And the idea of waiting for something that's not here yet that I want the world to wake up, in this example, that energetic is a lack. It's an energy of lack. Why? Because it's not here yet. Now, in a similar frequency bandwidth that's here right now, it's already here. And you're not waiting for anything. The only thing that's different, in a sense, is you realize it's already here. But humanity hasn't yet caught up. But it's okay, they're catching up. It feels totally different. It feels really good. Because I can say this because I know, because I'm there. It's already here. There is nothing to wait for. This is the whole concept of the event is coming or the event is here or some future thing. No, it's not in the future. It is vibrational embodiment. What you want is already here. There is nothing to be patient for. Okay, at the same time, there is divine timing in things. So that's a second piece. Understanding and being vibrationally compatible with, embodying the energetics of divine timing, and knowing that divine timing is happening now, right? Then when you have those two things combined, assuming there's not something else interfering with, because if you were here, we would dig deeper together and we would make sure we get to the root of it. But with your consciousness, I don't see you on the live call right now. I know you were here last week when you asked that. I don't see your name as I scroll. But once you're embodying that knowing, the vibration of having to be patient gets resolved. You see, the vibration of having to be patient and wait for humanity to wake up, that is a little painful. When I say painful, okay, it's not bad. It's not like really painful, but it's just energetically not aligned and attuned with the true divine knowing that it is already here, and that all that is happening is humanity is shifting and up-leveling. But you're already here. You're a vibratory state, and that feels good. That feels exciting. That feels inspiring. That feels uplifting. That feels like woo-hoo, right? That's the vibratory shift, Mark, that you need to make. And from this perspective, please understand that vibratory shift is not just mental. It's not enough for me to just tell you it. It has to be energetically embodied and then vibrating out in, through, and around you so that you become the vibrational essence of it wholly and completely. That's the healing process. That's the downloads, the activations, the clearings, and the healings, which we can do in a 5-week class, but I got like 10 minutes left here. So, Mark, I hope that is helpful. Such a good question, because so many light workers are feeling that way. And I totally, and by the way, you can apply this question, whoever you are, to anything that you think you have to be patient for or wait for. It's true, because in reality, there is nothing out there. There is no future. All there is the infinite, ever-present now that is always a vibrational embodiment, vibrational frequency bandwidth. All right, I hope that makes sense. I know you, Mark, and you've done stuff with me before, so I think that's the same Mark I know. I know a lot of Marks, so maybe I have you wrong because I don't have your last name. But I think you're a Mark that I know, and if you're not, I'm sorry, and it's lovely to meet you. But I hope that's helpful. At least it's information. It's not enough energetic shifting. I want to talk about the energetic shifting. This is from another person who is Michelle, who I love. I love you, Michelle. And Michelle's having some challenges, like a lot of challenges pushing up to the surface around the theme of death, grief, and loss. And I talked a little bit briefly, one of the last free Facebook calls, about helping her with her dog, who's going through some real health challenges, because all of this energetics of this density is being pushed up, right? And one of the things I had said to Michelle, and I don't think she's listening now, but she does listen in replay. One of the things she said was, I told God that I got the lesson, so my dog doesn't need to be sick anymore. And what I know for her is that it is not enough to tell God or Spirit, you got the lesson. You see, it's vibrational. So if the energetics and the vibration in the embodiment of the human are, I'm tired, I've had enough, I'm exhausted, I don't have a will to go on anymore, I just want to give up, I just want to lay here. Maybe even unconsciously, I just want to die, I just want to check out, maybe. Because that's, or I'm to blame, I'm wrong, everything's going wrong. I don't know, I'm not in that person's brain. But when things go wrong, this is what starts to happen. And our energy field starts to reverberate it out. And then what happens is our animals get sick because they're trying to help us to resolve it because they're sponges. In order to make the change, what has to change is the energetics. It is not enough to tell God that you got the message. It's not enough. It's not when what is required is a vibrational shift, because we can understand that old vibration. I'm tired, everything's gone wrong, I've had enough, I'm tired, I don't want another person or animal to die on me, I'm to blame, maybe it's my fault, I can't do anything right. Again, I don't know all the thoughts in there, but I get it that that's that frequency bandwidth that she's playing at. And so the dog has gotten unfortunately ill and is having health challenges because what? The ripple effect of the energy is affecting the environment, the animal sponging it up. No wrongness. This is the way reality works. It's all energy. So to tell God or Spirit or Source, however you identify, I got the message, please don't take my animal. Not enough. What has to change is the whole energetics. That's why healing is so important. And that's why I'm saying I'm doing this 5-week healing class, because look how, I've spent an hour and a half for the last 3 weeks to 2 hours teaching this. But to make the energetic shifts, it's not a 5-minute. It's not like, tell God, I want you to make the energetic shift. I want you to change the whole vibration and resonance. Because when you do, the experience will change. The experience will change. And then the mirror reflection, in this case, the mirror reflection of an animal getting sick, a loved one, changes too. It's a big promise, right? It's a big promise. It's huge results. This is why we do the spiritual work. Because the spiritual work right now, in my opinion, navigating humanity's reality without some kind of spiritual connection, without spiritual guidance, without spiritual healing, it's a death trap. It's a descending timeline, a dead end. And I want for the best for my sister Michelle, who I love, who is such a good-hearted, loving, kind, giving, wonderful person, who right now the shadow is up. And it is like a dark night of the soul, because you feel lost and hopeless. And this is why it's so important to do that energy healing. Okay, my little doggy's next to me. She's sleeping this whole time. All right, I hope that's helpful. The purpose of the story, and this goes back into what Mark was asking about too, is the change on the mental plane alone is not enough. That is the point of the whole story, to get to the point and cut to the chase. All right. And just more questions before we start to wrap. I'm going a little long here. I'm going to take Fan's question, but right before I do your question, so I like when you put them in live, I do want to address some of the more ones that were put in on the Facebook page in between. So one of those came up from Emily. She said, thank you for doing these events. It's really helpful. I actually watched your second live last night on the Facebook Watch app. Wow, I didn't even know. I guess they do that automatically. On my Fire Stick, so cool. She says it's about time to break free from my old life into a new unknown life. Yes, it is. It's time for all of us. That's called Ascension. That's called the new paradigm. Yes, Emily. Woohoo. So she says, I'd like to know the best way to release these things that do not serve us anymore. How to let go. Okay, she got 5 questions here. And as you guys know, I could talk for 20 minutes on any question. How to let go of things that we acknowledged in step 1. She talked about last week's teaching from the previous Facebook Live where we talked about the 5 steps. All right. Thank you for putting in bullet points. That makes it easier for me. I don't know if I can get to all 5 of your questions. But to answer that is the biggest question everybody has, is how? How? I mean, everybody wants to know how, right? Because I can tell you what you got to do. What? I told you what. I didn't tell you how. Well, how? I can tell you I have spent a lifetime with the how. That's what I do for a living. And how is never one 2-minute answer. But I do know that a lot of the how was in that last class. Like if you revisit it, we did talk about the 3 solution steps toward the end of that class. One was all the things you do on a personal level, self-love, self-care, self-healing, breath work, all the things you do on your own, journaling, contemplating, meditating, all of your own personal healing, self-love, self-care work, EFT, tapping, whatever you do on a personal level to take full responsibility for your own journaling, for your own journey. And nature, dance, meditation, swimming, healthy exercise. That step 1. Step 2 was working with an independent person who can help you see your blind spots and who can hold the frequency and the vibration that is clearer and purer than your own on any particular area where you're working on, so that they can help you resolve what is unresolved. That was step 2. Step 3 was classes, workshops, group meditations, group events, online retreats, even a Facebook page like this, where we're all together with a common interest of learning and growing. Great example, 5-week support group. That is another how, because you're going to learn a lot more of the how in there, right? That's why I do that 5-week Ascension support group, because there's people who really are serious about doing their inner work. They're not just showing up for the freebies. They want to do the inner excavation, and they want the support and assistance. And for those people, that's why I offer a more in-depth opportunity. So again, I'll just reference that. That's a how. Go to LoriSpagna.com under the 5-week Ascension support group. And I even give you, for those of you who really feel strapped, I'm giving you a coupon code, SAVE100, all capitals, 100, SAVE100. You can sign up. That's where I can help you with that energetics. That's the third way. Classes, workshops, groups, where you're in an environment where that is being supported. The fourth way was an intensive of some kind, which is, to me, retreats, some kind of, you go, like, what is an intensive for someone with an addiction? They go to a recovery, right? I mean, if you look in the 3D world, they do the same exact thing. So let's say you have an addiction. You do stuff on your own. You're taught to pray every morning, read the 12 steps, right? Read from the blue book, Alcoholics Anonymous. Then the second step is you work with your sponsor, or you have a therapist, a neutral person to help you. The third step, you go to some kind of class or workshop. You go to your 12-step meetings. You show up every week at a 12-step meeting. And then, or every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And then number 4, an immersion. What is an immersion? You can go to a 30-day recovery program, or you can have lots of those 12-step meetings, have retreats, classes, workshops. It's the same thing, is my point. Only we're working from a new paradigm. We're not using old paradigm. You're powerless over alcohol. You're powerless over this. You're powerless. No, we're working from a new paradigm. You are the divine. Remembering yourself, restoring yourself to your divinity, your full remembrance, restoring your wholeness, reclaiming all those fragmented aspects of yourself. That's the purpose of, for example, the 5-week Ascension support group, or a sacred retreat. So Emily, to answer the how, that is the how. That is a how. And yes, there are tools, techniques that you will learn. Many of those tools and techniques that you will take into your daily life, and then you'll circle it back to the stuff you do on your own. But that's the big overview of the how, because this is what we're doing on Earth. We're evolving, and we have to participate actively in our own ascension, our own shifting. And that's the short answer of the how. I hope that answers your question, because otherwise I can get into in-depth trainings, but we're just about out of time here. All right, I'll do one more of Emily's questions. It's another how question. How to move forward when feeling restricted by circumstances and supporting yourself. All right, I get that. This is a good question. The circumstances of our lives, the circumstances of our lives, including the need to support ourselves financially, is what I think you're saying, Emily, in your question. Those circumstances are a byproduct, a result, consequence, an effect of everything we've done in every now moment. Your life is a reflection of everything you've done. So in order to change that, you're going to have to change your behavior. You're going to have to change your thoughts. You're going to have to change your beliefs. You're going to have to change your emotions. You're going to have to change the energetics. You're going to have to change from the inside out. This isn't something I haven't said already. I'm moving the point, because how to move forward when you're feeling restricted by the circumstances surrounding you, including supporting yourself, is the only way to change when the external world is restricting you is to change from the inside. It's that simple. And the how is all the hows I've just explained. You have to change from the inside. I don't know how to impress this even more on you, because it's the only way we can change when the external world is being so restrictive. The external world of the third dimensional paradigm has become so restrictive. You can't go in this store without a mask. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't. I mean, there's all kinds of laws, rules, and regulations about what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. I mean, it's so small. The box is so small. There's an awareness coming. I have something else to say. Hold on. So many rules and restrictions and limitations. When you start to navigate to the higher realms, freedom is the gift. No more restrictions. You will start to see when you claim your power, you just don't have the same kinds of restrictions or rules. They don't apply. And it's because you're living according to God's law, right? God's universal laws, which are in harmony for all, for the greater good of all. You have to change from the inside. It's the only way to make change now, really, because the external world has become too limited and too restricted. This was it. When I first got to Sedona, I started taking a class. I am going to start wrapping up because we've gone 2 hours now. I'm sorry. I can talk for a long time because I love this, you know. Anyway, when I first got to Sedona, I started taking a class, a workshop in the Gene Keys and, I don't know, some other class. And I was enjoying it, but I started to realize this is putting me in a box. This is too small for me. I understand it's helpful to people. I'm not dissing it. But you will get to a point where anything that labels you or puts you in a box is too small. Even your astrology. And I love astrology. Even your numerology. Even your name. All that stuff. It's great tools. Fabulous tools. But you want to get to the point where you're so unified with the divine where you're like, nothing can restrict you anymore. Nothing can define you or limit you. Okay, your physical body, but even that won't, because you're so much more than that. All of that change has to happen from the inside out. I hope that's helpful, Emily. I realize it's not short, fast answer, but it's like, really. She asked a lot of other questions, really good ones. How to understand what your body is trying to tell you and how to fix it. You have to get more intuitive with your body. You have to start knowing that your body is there to communicate to you and with you. That is another way of following your intuition. What is your body telling you? What is your body saying to you? How is it? What does it want? What does it need? You can learn how to ask that. So easy. But you have to have the basics. That's stuff I teach constantly. I don't know your name, Emily, by the way. I don't think you've ever worked with me before. So you probably found me on Facebook, and I don't even know if you're here now, but you asked really good questions. I would suggest you get involved in my tribe, because those questions are things we ask all the time. And by the way, on every one of my retreats, every one of my classes, I always teach muscle testing and dowsing. You will learn that. And when you understand muscle testing and dowsing, you will learn a new way to communicate with your body like that. And you will love it. It is fast, it is easy, it is fun, and it will change your reality. It's a great way. It's a great tool for understanding your body, what it's trying to teach you, and using your own internal guidance. Dowsing and muscle testing, using the body. Great tool. It should be taught in school, but that's a whole other story. Don't get me started. All right, she has other questions here. I love your questions, Emily. Thank you so much. But I'm going to try to get to a couple other ones of people who are live on the call. Okay, Stephanie asked something about getting kicked off. Yeah, I mean, sadly, I am maxed out at the 5,000 friend mark. That means I can't take on any other friends on Facebook. Kind of a bummer. I think I might sort of transition over to YouTube and do some YouTube lives, because they don't limit you like Facebook does. But I just thought I would try this as something fun. And I'm sorry about that you got kicked out a couple times. I wanted to try something new and, reach out to my Facebook community, because I started to get active in the last year. But I do love the YouTube platform a little bit more, I think. I don't know. It's tribe. I just want to connect. I love the people. I love being involved with my community of other awakening beings. I love this kind of dynamic where we get to share openly, and I get to serve and do my service, and this, so that's why I tried it, but I'm sorry I got kicked out. Anyway, it'll be in replay, right? That's the good news. They put it up in replay, and then I will put it on my YouTube channel in a week or two, depending on how quickly we can turn it around. Last week's call is probably still on the Facebook and will be made live on the YouTube for people as well within the next week. All right. Allure, hello, Allure. You're coming back for, yes, I'll see you next Tuesday in our class. And wow, I didn't put the code in there wrong. Wow, there's a lot of comments. Oh, Emily, you are here. Hello, Emily. It's so nice to see you. She says, bless you, Lori, and thank you. I'm trying to change many aspects of self and learn from spirit and others, including you. I appreciate your guidance. Much love. Thank you, Emily. I'm so glad. I hope you'll join us. I think you will really benefit, really, from that 5-week Ascension support group. Let me put the coupon in there the right way if I didn't do that already. That's the coupon code. I don't know why it takes a while. Sometimes I put it in more than one. There it is. All right. Carolyn said the coupon is still not working. Maximum redemption limit is reached. You probably have 5 things in your shopping cart, Carolyn. Empty your shopping cart, clear your cookies off your computer, and load only one. It's only allowed once. You can only use the coupon once. And that's why you're getting that. You probably put it in your shopping cart, right? And then went back. You probably have more than one in your shop. I don't like it. People sometimes accidentally load their shopping cart up with like 3. They press it 3 times. They don't realize they're buying 3. So when I set this up, I set it up for one purchase only because people aren't going to buy that more than once. And even if they do, they can buy it once. They just can't load the shopping cart. They can buy it more than once. They just can't load the shopping cart up with more than one of it. I hope that makes sense, Carolyn. Go in, clear off your cookies, make sure there's only one item in the shopping cart, or else press empty cart and then reload it with 1 and it will work. It worked for me, so I know I tested it. And you can still save 100. Go back to the question I saw from Fan, and then I'll start to wrap because I know I'm over, but I can go on because I like it. Carolyn, see if that works. If it doesn't, we'll make sure we honor for you. I just think that will work for you. If it's easier for you to just go straight to PayPal, you can send the payment of $4.95 to info@eflessgod.com. Janice says, I love the way you described patience and already being here. Others may not have caught up with us. They will. Thank you, Janice. I'm glad you get that. I was looking for Fan's question because I don't remember, but I remember seeing it and saying I wanted to get to it. That happens. It scrolls so much. Yeah, I want to say, Linda, I see that I do channel the Palladians as well. I do. That's my root star system. What a root system means is that's your originating system. And every originating star system, wherever that is, we can get help from. I channel lots of star beings, star family beings. I don't know if I know you, Linda, but all of my stuff is tons of star beings. I don't always bring it out in the teachings, but when we do DNA activations, tons of it is coming from our star family races. And when I'm channeling, I can channel many of the star family races because I've activated so much of the DNA from so many star family systems. So Palladian's my root system, my root race, in the sense that the root races are home family, which typically is the planetary body, even though Palladius is not a planetary body, it's a star system of our origin, where we were first incarnated in physical form. It's a deeper teaching than that, so I'm not going to go into it in this moment, but yeah, I definitely do bring in the star family races and channel them, and I do help people to learn how to access that, right? I can't find Fan's question anymore. Fan, if you can retype it. What happens when I scroll through? Mark, Fan, if you retype your question in, I'll get it at the bottom. I'll go look again. Mark says, I'm an electronics engineer, overcoming the training of having it in hand to see, touch, feel, etc. in his work. I know you, Mark, because you've been in the 5-week support group before. This is a different Mark than the other Mark. And I just want to say that is one of the greatest challenges. And I want to say, especially for like the scientific mind, and also the generation. Now I'm going to link into the linear age thing, even though we're way beyond that. The generation of people born like up until before the 60s, like especially leading up to like the middle of the 60s, those people, and I don't know if that's your age range, but I have a sense that it might be, that those people are generally, I refer to them as pre-seeders. So they're tending the soil so the star seeds could come in and anchor in more light, right? And pre-seeders are like even pre-first wavers. They're the ones of like the MLK, Woodstock generation, the hippies, JFK, like when humanity was first starting to awaken to the age of, this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Pre-seeders, their greatest challenge is the left linear brain. And even more for women, during that time, and a lot of the women who have come on the retreats are women who fall into this category, who are basically having to overcome that adaptation to be sort of like just kind of like fit in and just shut down. So these pre-seeders in this age range of linear time sort of shut down a little bit to function and rely only on their left brain. And they did a lot of internal shutting down of their system, turned off their knowing, turned off their intuition, their heart, to function in a society that was reptilian based, right? Old paradigm. And so the challenge for you, Mark, that you brought up, and for many women too, like think of that movie Mad Men, right? That whole movie, that TV show, if you've ever seen it, is all about like women had to just shut up, show their skirts, like be pretty, be stupid for men. That's that old paradigm of the patriarchy that generation has to rebirth itself out of that strong domination on overly using the analytical brain. And I will say the retreats and the practices are the best for that. That is a lot of meditation, healing practice is what's required there, especially for all the pre-seeders, because I do a lot of teaching here, as you can see, which I love, but it's in the DNA activation calls and in the meditations and the practices. I do those too, right? Of course, where by putting it in the practice, the experiential, that's where you transmute that. It's not going to be through the overly analytical part. I hope that helps to make sense. Thank you, Mark, for sharing that. Yeah, and Susie, who I love, my sister, you understand that. Yeah, Carol says Mad Men, 1960s. All right, here's Fan's question. I found it. Thank you, Fan. I'm surprised at how off balance and off center I have been when faced with house hunting and having less than 6 weeks to find a home for me and my children. My applications keep being rejected because my profile doesn't fit the system here in the UK. The system of lack and limitation and no's. Do you know what the most harmful word is? The most harmful word for your brain? Does anyone know? The most harmful word? The most harmful word. Somebody said hate, and I would say yes, but that's not the scientifically studied most harmful word. No. The most harmful word? No. Do you know what the most helpful word is? And you would think love, which yes, it could be. But in terms of scientific study, is the word yes, and second, maybe. Amazing, right? All right, so fan, here's what I would recommend to you. Your vibratory state of the houses that you're looking for, the stress and the anxiety, the off balance is why you're not getting any yeses, because you're energetically off balance, and everything that you attract to yourself from energetic off balance is so off balance that you're getting no, 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 and your energetics need to be anchored into yes, 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 yes. That is the internal shift you need to make. This is a vibrational shift. When we're in high stress, you're dealing with one of the 4 big D's: death, disease, divorce, or separation, and what is moving, relocation. I call it a D because divorce or relocation from a house. It's a type of divorce. Divorce from an old home, trying to find a new home. That's one of the big D's of life, right? Those are the biggest difficulties of life, the big D's. You're dealing with one, and it's thrown you off. Because why? You're not holding your core vibration, your core pillar. Oh, man. I can't even point to I have to point to the class again. This is where we make these changes. The 5th 5-week Ascension support group. That is where, in those classes, we learn all of my classes and workshops and healings, but this is a great one. You learn how to anchor your core pillar of love and light in and through your body. One of the great things classes I recently did on this was the impromptu healing for the chakra clearing class. I don't even think it's available anymore. I mean, you could get it, but it was like $111, 4-hour class, 2 hours of it were healing, clearing out the core pillar, anchoring in. That is where you learn that. Then what happens is, when you've mastered these kinds of tools and techniques and practices, you find your right house like that. The house that I'm living in Sedona right now, I just moved. For anyone who knows Sedona, it is one of the most difficult markets to find a house. The houses get picked up in 2 days. There are waiting lists. So I got this house within 4 days of looking. And it really is a lovely house. It's not my ideal house because I'm not a brown girl. It's a lot of brown. I'm a white, whites, peach color. But that's just the color of Sedona. Everything's kind of brown and orange. But this is a really nice prime location, private backyard, private side yard. It's a really nice home at a really great price because my team I'm having it. It was presented. It's not my ideal home of what I would want, but it is for Sedona, primo real estate, primo. Swimming pool, jacuzzi, beautiful private neighborhood right in West Sedona. It's gorgeous, really affordable, and safe, lovely neighborhood, and dog friendly. I mean, it's why I'm using that as an example, because when you're in your core pillar, everything's going to be a yes. It's going to happen like that. Not everything. You're going to have your hardships. They'll be your no's. Those will be like, not that way. Remember that part? Not that way. You're going to have a much better home once you get this. I hope that's helpful. I hope that makes sense. I hope I answered your question well, fan, because this is a vibrational match. Right. So you're wanting to move. I see your comment, fan. It's a divorce. That's even worse. Right. So I'm sorry, sweetheart, because I'm playing with my hair. I'm sending you love because divorce is really hard. So you got to couple. I went through that too, right? my divorce of my husband, relocation to Maui, lost all my money, divorce, it was like the beginning of my 2-year dark night of the soul. But it's a hard time, so I'm sorry. And that's really tough. It is. You're going through a hard time. What's going to happen, though, is you're going to learn to anchor. You're going to learn to find your vibrational foundation, your pillar within you. And from a strong frequency of light that's going to be rolling, running, vibrating in, through, and around you, that's where you're going to have your right alignments with everything. That's when things start going right and well and good and appropriate. So I know it's a short answer, but I hope that's helpful, fam. And I hope you will join us in the 5-week Ascension support group. You're welcome, fan. The healing, energy healing, which we are not doing. This is like class, teachings, but the healing is really where that shift changes. All right, you guys, I am going to begin to wrap. Let me just see if there was any other, I picked up some really good questions from other weeks, but we've gone long. And Mary said, I feel that, I'll do this one last one. There were some really good ones in there. Mary says, I feel the timeline split. Mary came on the Sacred Crystal Retreat twice, 2 years in a row. I feel that we are in the middle of it, seeing 2 suns, sometimes shadow, moon moving to the positive. When you talked about stuck, I don't feel stuck. That's good. Just external environment seems to be going slow, sloth-like. I love that she says that. I resonated with not going back, only forward. In the now was my life before the Mount Ida energy. That's because she came on the Crystal Retreat. Her gifts are getting stronger, opening up daily. I guess there's not a question here, but it looked like waking up to the divine messages more and more, subtle getting noticed more and more, and synchronicity. Looking forward to the group. So I don't really hear a question there, but I was juicy and I know her name. I don't know if she's on this call, but what I hear is hearing she's waking up and she feels the timeline split. Yeah, the timeline split is becoming more and more evident, right? Descending, ascending, and you want to be on an ascending timeline. Linda said, my family honors struggle. Been working on changing this for myself. Yeah. Okay, I don't see a question there, but I do appreciate that. I get that. That has been core challenge area for me too. And Sandy talked about assisting the collective. We addressed that, right? By the way, on my website, you'll also see that I added a, oh, you know what? It doesn't look like it showed up. Well, I thought it was in the menu. I'll get it in there. But a sacred government call. I thought that was updated. I can put it in here. The sacred government call is like we do an hour, basically an hour meditation, 45 minutes to an hour, sacred government work. It's a meditation and healing. But that was inspired actually by what Sandy had written. Because I've been doing this for a while, but I just get really busy and I can't always do them. And it takes a lot of time to set up all, the working parts of it. And I can't do it for, a million things by myself for free all the time. But I love the sacred government calls. And people really do come into their power. And it's a beautiful way to be of service to humanity. So anyway, I put that in there too. All right, you guys, I'm going to start to wrap. I did my best to address what I could. I would like to do one more of these at least before I kind of try to start doing them on YouTube. So if you feel like you would like to share with me, here's what I would love to know from you so I can better support and assist you, is what are the areas where you really are being challenged? I did try to address what I could. But if you let me know on the Facebook page, these days I'm having a harder time you know, like addressing every comment. But if you let me know on the Facebook page, I can address those in the next group, the next Facebook. I'll do one more Facebook Live at least. Because once the 5-week Ascension support group happens, I'm going to be focused on those guys. And, you know, we have our private Facebook page, and I'll be going in there every week and interacting with them through the private Facebook page, plus providing, you know, all of the support to that group. So I won't be doing any more, you know, freebies on Facebook for a while, just because I want to focus my attention on people who are really wanting to go deeper. But I do hope you will join me. So the link again is lorispagna.com. Under the live events tab, you will see the 5-week Ascension Channel Coaching Healing Support Group. It begins basically next week, Tuesday, March 16th, for 5 consecutive weeks. And we work together in a group online via webinar, just kind of like this, only even more personal, one-on like direct. And everybody gets private coaching, support, and assistance, even though we're in a group format. You also get the extra bonus healing, which gets announced later. And they will get some kind of extra class, I'm sure. There's always lots of benefits and bonuses. And we'll be working together on a much more personal level. Plus, there'll be channelings and healings. We talked about what that content was. You know, it's very open in the sense that it's based on what the group needs and wants and is asking for, and what our collective group, higher divine team is orchestrating and supplying for us and supporting us in the evolution. And then I always say no questions are off limits. Like, it's whatever, you know, they're asking for and needing as individuals, so I can work with everybody. So please do join us. It's, again, at lorispagna.com. Under live events, you'll see that tab for the 5-week Ascension Channel Coaching and Healing, an online webinar retreat. And if you're registering today, I'll put it in one more time, but it's there on the side under the chats. There's the link, and then you can use the coupon code, which is all capitals, SAVE100, or that when you use that at checkout to get the $100 savings, just make sure that you only have one item in your cart. I hope that helped you, Carolyn. I don't know if it did or not, but I'm not sure. I didn't see another comment about it. But that will give you $100 off that current rate. And that's mostly to help people, you know, the idea that a lot of people haven't been able to work, I understand. But at the same time, I'm like, new paradigm, we're talking about all new potentials, including the Sara Jasara. I don't have time for that right now because I'm going to start to close. But so much goodness is opening up to us. Really, so much betterness and goodness. But we got to get out of this old box, this old paradigm. So that is how I want to help and support you to go deeper. 5-week Ascension support group, 5-week Ascension Channel Coaching and Healing Retreat. It's at lorispagna.com under the live events tab, and it's starting on Tuesday, May 16th. The call access information goes out to the entire group in like the couple days right before the live event. We send it all out at once so everybody has it. And the extra benefits and bonuses will start rolling in soon after that. So I hope you will join me, and I hope you'll be able to use the coupon code effectively. If you have any other last minute questions, you can plug them in right now. I will just say this video will be on the Facebook page. It plays in replay for anyone who wants to catch anything they missed. It'll also end up being added to the YouTube channel within the next week or so. My video guide does that for me. And then, of course, if you feel like you didn't get a question answered that you would like answered, or you want further support and assistance, type it in on the Facebook page. I'll do one more Facebook Live before our group begins next Tuesday. I think it is the 16th. I'll do one more Facebook Live. I will announce the date of that in my newsletter to my community and on the Facebook page. I realize I'm capped out at 5,000, but at least you can see it in replay for people who are on the YouTube channel. And other than that, yeah, you can put questions in on the Facebook page. I will check in and do my best to sort of make a note of them and make sure you make them kind of to the point so I can address them. Because if they're too long, it gets a little hard to read it. All right, you guys, I hope that's been helpful to you. I want to thank you so much. I really love and enjoy connecting with all of you really high vibe people who really are doing the inner work of the ascension, of the ascension process and walking the path with me and with one another. And I love our community and our connection. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy with me and for being here. And yeah, it's lovely to be with you and to connect with you. And yeah, thanks so much. All right, you guys, I hope that was helpful. And yeah, keep me posted. Let me know what's going on with you through Facebook. And until next time, I just want to say goodbye. Love you all.